Okay, we are now on video 5, and we're going to be discussing a few other ways of being able to set your conditional clauses. Now, in this particular SQL that you see, we've got a where clause. And you don't always have to use a where clause. What I want you to understand on this where clause is that whenever you use a where clause, the very first thing that the query is going to do is it's going to build all the tables together. So I'm going to basically, from the legend, I'm going to build the legend, the mapping, the component, and the horizon table together. And then once I've got all that information together, then I'm going to query that massive amount of information to look for NE079 and major component flags equal yes. One of the ways you can set your conditions is setting the conditions within the from clause. And that way, every time it gets to that particular table with that particular condition, the only information returned from that table is that condition. So I'm going to extract out of this where clause this particular phrase, area symbol like NE079. I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to come over here. You can't put it on the from clause line, but on this inner join line, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to type and, because I'm putting in a condition. I'm not putting in a join, I'm putting in a condition. So I'm going to use the word and. So I've now got and area symbol like NE079. And then I'm going to extract this condition, and I'm going to remove it from the where clause. I'm going to put it up here in the component clause, inner join. I'm going to remove my where. The same SQL, the difference now is it's going to join the legend and the map unit together, but only those map units that are in area symbol 097 are going to be combined. And then I'm going to join the component table, but only those components that are major component flags that are within 079 are being pulled. So you're making a more efficient SQL when you're doing this. And when we run the query, you'll notice the query still runs. It runs a little quicker, but you probably didn't notice that. But here is the same information, but a lot more efficient as far as writing the SQL goes. So keep in mind, you can put your conditional clauses inside the join statement. Another little key that I use quite a bit. We have a lot of users that are only concerned with the dominant component. This here pulls all the major components. So if you've got two major components, it's going to pull them both. I'm going to stereotypically say the vast majority of our users only want the dominant component. So all of you who think you're doing this fabulous job of splitting out every single component that you find in a map unit, I want you to be aware that most of your users only want that first component. So how can I do this? Well, I can still use the condition. It takes a little changes and a little manipulation and understanding, because now I'm going to put in a subquery in this clause. And I'm going to say where the component.coKey is equal to. And this is where you're going to set a subquery. And you're going to see me building on this more and more in all these queries. I write a lot of subqueries. And so I'm going to say select, and I'm going to throw in a new one on you, top one, c.coKey, and I'm going to explain all of this after I get done typing, from the component, component, I'm going to alias that with C, from, where the c.mu key is equal to mapunit.mu key. And I'm going to order this by the c.comp %_r, and we're going to descend this. Now allow me to explain this. This whole video is on this explanation. Basically what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, I want the dominant component within each one of these map units. How can I find that dominant component? Inside my join statement, remember I told you can set the conditions to extract only the set of information you need from that table. So the only information I need from component.coKey, and where's component.coKey? That's this table right here, is equal to select the top one. Okay, top one says I only want one result. Give me the top one result. And I want the top one c.coKey. Now what's c.coKey? This is a subquery. This whole thing is a subquery that's querying the component table. And I'm renaming the component table C. That's called an alias. So I've got an alias set up for the component table because I'm hitting it a second time. And so C is this value right here. And C is my alias for the component table the second time. So I'm going to select the top one component key from the component table, which I'm renaming C, where C.MUKey, this one here, is equal to MapUnit.MUKey right here. And then I'm going to order this. This is the important part of any top one or any subquery, is I'm going to do the order by, and I'm going to order it by the component percentage of the C table. And I'm going to order those in a descending sort so that 95 and 15, or 55, 35, and 10. So I have that top component with the highest percentage of comp percent being my first record. And that first record is my top one record that's going to be returned in this subquery. And this subquery is saying I only want those component coKeys that match the results of this subquery. All right, subquery is set off in parentheses. So when you run this result, pardon me, when you run this query and you get the result, now you're looking at only the top dominant component within each map unit. I'm going to clean this up just a little bit to show you the result. I'm going to pound out, and when I pound out, I'm putting dashes, and the dashes are basically saying don't run this, and you can use that, and it gets upset with you because I left horizon R in there. And so now when it runs, here you can see the only components that are within this particular result are the components that are dominant, the dominant component. Now, here's an example. Let's go over here and take a look at this, Boleus O'Neill. And let's see if we can get a better handle on this. Boleus O'Neill, we have 35% and 35%. You should never do this. It should never be a 35-35. Always make a decision on what is the dominant one, because now you're making my life more difficult, because now I've got to figure out how I'm going to be able to query this data. So what can I do? I can come in here and I can order by the component percentage descending, and I can order by comp name. And now when I come in here, I can run this query again, and now I've got the Boleus as the first named. So if you're going to do a correlation, make a decision on what is the dominant soil and make the person's life a lot easier when they query. Because basically you're telling me that I can choose either one of those. Okay, fine, if that's what you meant, that's what I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose either one of them, and you can't complain because I chose. Now you can correlate this by saying this is the one I want you to use, but this is the way you select a dominant component. And that dominant component is by using a subquery to select the component key using a descending sort of the component percentage and then choosing the top one. And I'll be doing this more and more, and you'll be able to see more about how I did. So what did I show you? I showed you how to use the pound, but to basically comment out, you use the dashes. And I showed you how to use a subquery to be able to extract. And I also showed you how to change the condition and put the condition in the from clause instead of the where clause. A lot of stuff, but you'll be seeing more and more of this as I'm doing it. You should be able to get a handle on how it works. So that ends this video, and we'll move on to the next one here shortly.